You can have the biggest why and the most meaningful why to change the whole world. But if you don't believe in your ability to do it, it's never going to happen. We hear the saying so much that if your why is big enough, you can do anything. But what happens when your why isn't big enough? And what happens when it's so big that you truly believe in it, but you're still not doing it and you're bringing on a lot of guilt and shame? Let's break that down today because I think this is a really common factor and a really common challenge that a lot of entrepreneurs face is they hear this all the time. If your why is big enough, you'll do anything, but their whys are big. Their whys are attached to their family, their own personal growth, these big futures, this future where they love themselves and they're experiencing this life at the highest level of joy. And then we still quit, or then we slow our momentum down, or then we do XYZ and we're not moving forward. And then that brings on a high level of shame. And so, what if it's not actually about your why and why you're doing it? And what if it's about something else? So, what could it possibly be about? Why does it matter to have a why, and how can we shift our forward movement and our attachment to it? So for me, for a long time, my why, of course, was always my family. I wanted to create a high level of financial freedom, but also time freedom. I also wanted to have this life that I was dreaming of where we could just travel and just have all of this fluid time and fluid money. And that was my why. I wanted more connection with my family. I wanted to create this life that I dreamed of. And then we have the aspect of it of that's all good and great, but I didn't believe I could actually do it. So that's where we get disconnected from our why. It feels so far out of reach. We feel so disconnected from what that version is in the future that it becomes really difficult to actually take action or to continue action when things are challenging. So it's not that you need to change your why, it's you need to change your relationship on how to get to that future outcome, right? You're doing this because of what? Right? Write that down, figure that out. Why do you do the business that you're doing? It's a really important part that we need to figure out and be really honest with yourself. And financial freedom and the finances and all of that, that's incredibly important. It doesn't have to, you don't have to romanticize it. Just whatever comes up, like the top few things, just write that down. I think that's going to be really important for you to explore as well. Why do you do this business the way that you do it? And then after you understand why you do this business, then you need to understand what it is that's going to stop you. What are the beliefs that stop you from creating that future version of yourself? You're doing it for somebody else. Now ask yourself, how can I do this for me? And what's the relationship I need to change with myself to be able to get the outcomes I want? Right. So, why you're doing it is oftentimes external. It's for someone else or for something else or to get something in return. And that is okay. And then we have to look at the outcomes that we want. What is the outcome we want? Well, to have that version of financial freedom for me, I need to have a successful business. So then that's where we have to explore. Sometimes we also spend so much time daydreaming on the why and the outcome that we forget that we actually have to take action today to be able to achieve that. And so now we bring it back and we ask ourselves, well, if I want that future version that I dreamed up, what do I need to do today? What are the action steps I need to do today? And then what happens so often is that we don't feel capable. So then our mind starts telling us all the reasons why, all of those limiting stories, all those limiting beliefs start to really come to the surface really strongly of how that can't happen. And so we become so disconnected from what we want to do and the actions we need to take. And we honestly should be taking in our business to move forward, to get visible, to, be seen, to put ourselves out there, to take those risks in our business, to hire, to do all of these different things that we're just not simply willing to do because we don't have a belief in ourselves. And so you can have the biggest why and the most meaningful why to change the whole world. But if you don't believe in your ability to do it, it's never going to happen. It's never going to be the thing that motivates you to move forward. So just like always, we have to change our relationship with ourselves. And so you have to ask yourself, when I think about this big why, when I think about the big outcome, when I think about, this legacy I want to leave, why do I think I can't have that? Or why do I think I'm not capable of that? Or what is going to get in my way? And those are the things that you need to write down. Those are the things that you need to be evaluating, because we can dream really big, but immediately you need to get back to reality and say, but this is what I have right now. And this is what I know about myself. And this is what I know is going to stop me. And the more you get familiar with yourself and the more you get familiar with your patterns and the things that derail you, then the easier it is to stay on track, because you can see it coming and you can feel it immediately when it comes up. So it's one of those things that instead of being, 2 weeks into self sabotaging behavior, you're a day in, right? And then soon you're an hour in, and soon you're a minute in, and soon you just have the thought and you don't actually take action. And so, one of the things I want you to start shifting the perspective on is that it's not creating a bigger why, it's creating a bigger belief in yourself, creating a bigger belief in your ability, and really understanding that. And then looking at, if I want to create this, why I'm doing this work is to have this outcome. And if I want this outcome, then I need to do this. And these maybe are the skills I need to gain. Maybe this is the confidence and the competence I need to gain to be able to get that outcome that I'm looking for. It really is that simple. And we start to break it down in these ways of like, what is holding me back? And then we do something about it, and we remove the judgment on it of like, yeah, of course I feel like that. Of course I'm creating these patterns because I haven't worked through them. I haven't found different ways to move through a sabotaging pattern. So of course it impacts my business growth. And when you look at it in a not judgmental way and in more of a curious way, then you can really step into that version of yourself that executes, gets things done, is consistent, is visible, all of these different things that I know you want for all these things that are necessary to grow your business. So you have to ask yourself, you've figured out what your why is, you know that really deeply, you know it to your core, and it really moves you. Now, how do you move yourself? How do you get connected? How do you build that momentum from in here and not just focusing on the external? How do you say, what is going to stop me? How am I going to pull myself back? And what can I do to change that? And what would that look like? And I would love to share that. What is your why? What do you want to change in the world? What do you want that experience to be like? And how can you connect to it more? And what do you need to remove out of your way so you can continue that momentum? So tell me in the comments. I would love to hear what your why is and how you are going to change the world.